It's the recruiting rundown here on Gamecock Central. Welcome in, everybody. Kendall Smith and Wes Mitchell coming at you here with all of the recruiting news in the world of South Carolina football. Wes, you are coming off of a big week in Nashville, Tennessee. You look like you're doing okay, though. How was the trip?
It was good. Survived. Glad to be back. My favorite part of the week, as you said yesterday, doing the recruiting rundown right now. So glad to be back. Survival. It was fun though. Got to see a bunch of the On3 folks that honestly I had never met in person. I've only seen like online, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. Wes was hitting up Broadway every night. No, I'm totally kidding. He was there working hard, everybody, working hard so he can make the connections and continue to bring you great coverage on GamecockCentral.com. But today we are talking all about recruiting, and it has been a busy week in the world of recruiting. You were in Nashville in the early part of this week, but over the weekend, you were in Atlanta for the Under Armour camp. Several guys there who Carolina is interested in, has extended offers to. So Wes, being at that camp, what did you see from those guys that South Carolina wants to come and be Gamecocks?
Yeah, as always, go check out Gamecock Central. That's where you'll get the more in-depth stuff. Obviously, we're not going to hit on everybody right now, but that's always one of the bigger regional camps in the country because, as we know, like Atlanta and then just Georgia in general has a ton of talent. That's an area South Carolina recruits a bunch. And several guys they're after, like you said, Kendall, Ryan Mosley, 4-star wide receiver. That's a guy that Gamecock fans are probably pretty familiar with. He was there working out, looked fantastic. Charles Power, who works for On3, had him as one of his kind of top 5, top 10 performers overall in the camp. I thought he looked really good as well. He's going to take an official visit to South Carolina. Very, very interested in the Gamecocks. I think right now that's a UGA versus South Carolina battle. There's some other schools involved, but I think right now it's really those two. Another Georgia kid, Carson Baker, got the chance to catch up with him. 4-star running back. He is a speedster. He's someone that can go out there and hit the home run ball at that position. And really it has not quite narrowed his focus down yet, but South Carolina's maybe in that top 3 or 4 schools. Georgia involved, A&M involved, Ohio State, Penn State. A lot of the kind of blue bloods are involved with that one, but South Carolina really wants him. Got a chance to chat with him a little bit, met his dad. They really like South Carolina, but as I said, it's just going to be a kind of one of those big boy recruiting battles we talk about. And then someone we've maybe not talked about here on the show, but we've written about on Gamecock Central, a 2027 quarterback, Trent Seaborn. He just visited South Carolina a few weeks ago, had a really good time. He's going to be a national level kid. Had a chance to catch up with him again. He's going to be back on campus this spring and just really, I think is pretty interesting in South Carolina. It's so early. He hasn't like cut his list down either, but I think South Carolina is going to be in that one until the end. And Trent really had a phenomenal day. I thought throws a great ball, very accurate, very just developed for his age in terms of his ability as a quarterback. So again, that's just a few guys. You can get all the notes and news and nuggets on Gamecock Central.
Well, I know you said we're not going to talk about everybody, but there is somebody that was at the camp that I feel like we have to talk about here on the show today. Landon Duckworth was in Atlanta this past weekend. He was once committed to South Carolina, no longer committed to the Gamecocks. But Wes, what is going on with that situation? Because I think South Carolina may still have a chance here.
Yeah, it's always kind of interesting, Kendall, when a guy decommits. Sometimes that's just kind of it. Both sides part ways, or a lot of times you see a decommitment, maybe a guy already knows where he's going and they recommit, but to somewhere else pretty quickly. With Landon, I think this was truly a matter of him just committing a little bit too early. South Carolina got the early pledge. That was way back in, I think, 2023. About a year later, he decommitted from South Carolina. That's been back mid-2024 at this point. So all that's kind of settled down. South Carolina's still heavily involved here. Talking to Landon, he said that both sides kind of have a mutual understanding, like there's no hard feelings after the decommitment. They're going through the process. And right now, I think with him, you can look at South Carolina, Ole Miss, which he visited Ole Miss recently before the dead period hit. I think had a really strong visit there. Georgia involved, which he's a little bit different type of quarterback in that this is a big athletic kid who can make people miss, who can beat you in the passing game, but also beat you in the running game. So a little bit different in terms of the skill set we've seen Georgia recruit. Georgia heavily involved, and then Florida State heavily involved as well. I think those are the top 4 for Landon, but he's going to take a spring visit to South Carolina, and he's going to take an official visit to South Carolina. No dates for those yet, but he is planning to do so. And I think kind of a fascinating recruitment in that, yeah, there was the decommitment, but all sides have kind of settled, and everybody's, I think, feeling good about each other. So I'll be curious to see what continues to happen with Ole Miss, because it did seem like they caught his attention on that visit, but the Gamecocks do have some longevity here, and he loves Shane Beamer. So I think that's going to give them they'll be in it to the end, I think, with Duckworth.
Well, we've seen the way that those relationships that the coaching staff cultivates with players have been able to help South Carolina over the Shane Beamer era. It's really been impressive. And as we continue to get more information on these official visit dates that are set, we will keep you updated on GamecockCentral.com. It's a big few months coming up for South Carolina in terms of official visits, getting guys out to campus, and trying to get them to pledge to the Gamecocks. So all of that information over on Gamecock Central. But we talk about decommitments. Another decommitment, this one though not from South Carolina, but it is from a guy who South Carolina wants to come to USC. Jalen McGill, 2026 running back, was committed to Rutgers for less than 3 weeks. He decommitted. Where is South Carolina at right now with McGill?
Yeah, Kendall, I think they're certainly still in it. I think the big question here was, all right, is there anything imminent here with South Carolina? Because South Carolina was the school that a lot of people kind of thought had the edge for a stretch during the fall. And so I think there was maybe a thought when he decommitted, oh, does that mean he's about to commit to South Carolina? From what I've been told, this was not something that was like orchestrated by any push from South Carolina. This is more an in general decommitment. I think McGill's still going to go through the process. You never know with high school kids. He could call up South Carolina today and be like, hey, guys, I want to be a Gamecock. But short of that, this is not something where we are anticipating, oh, he's been talking to South Carolina and that's why he decommitted. So I think South Carolina is still involved here. But you look at that running back room. I mentioned Carson Baker earlier. That's a guy they are really, really high on. They want to get on campus. There are several other prospects who at that position they're recruiting too. So I think McGill remains one to keep an eye on, but just not one of those situations where we're sitting there tracking a possible commitment here soon, Kendall.
Well, it will be interesting to keep up with all of these storylines. Again, visit GamecockCentral.com for more. Wes and Chris will keep you updated with everything that you need to know. We'll be back here every week on the Recruiting Rundown as well, trying to give you a shortened synopsis of what has happened throughout the week in recruiting. Wes, as you know, every week it is something different, and it is always something that we have to keep up with on a day-to-day basis because things are changing very rapidly. But that is just the world of college football that we live in right now. It's exciting though. And like I said, these next few months are going to be very exciting for South Carolina. So great work this week, Wes. I know you were traveling all across the Southeast, so hopefully you get some nice relaxing time this weekend to just chill and take some time for yourself. But we appreciate you. We appreciate all of you for joining us here on the Recruiting Rundown here on Gamecock Central. Again, follow us on social media at Gamecock Central. Check out GamecockCentral.com. We hope you have an amazing rest of your week, everybody. So for Wes Mitchell, I am Kendall Smith. This has been the Recruiting Rundown here on Gamecock Central. We'll see you next week.